All right, I think this is working. Yeah, hopefully anyone out there can hear me. I know anyone who clicks on this probably think I'm the last person that would ever do a live stream, and I would have thought the same thing about a month ago, but I don't know. I think I'm just gonna go through some of the PwnedLabs Academy modules and try attacking some Azure labs and just see how it goes. See if I can switch this here. Yeah, I see people like Tyler Ramsby and Jerry at Simply Cyber live streaming and creating a community to learn together, so I kind of like that. And I don't know if this will turn into anything or I'll ever do this again, but yeah, it's definitely weird talking with no one out there. Let's see. Pick my team, red team, category, Azure and M365. Free tier. And I was looking at Azure Blob Container to initial access. So it's a beginner-friendly lab to give an introduction to one of the most popular Azure services, Blob Storage, and show how attackers can use it to access secrets and get a foothold in a cloud environment. I haven't looked at this ahead of time, so I don't know what trouble I'll run into trying to get this to work, but we'll see. See if this is live. Yeah. Scenario: Mega Big Tech have adopted a hybrid cloud architecture and continues to use a local on-premise Active Directory domain as well as the Azure cloud. They are wary of being targeted due to their importance in the tech world and have asked your team to assess the security of their infrastructure, including cloud services. Interesting URL has been found, public documentation, you're assessing it. They will begin rolling out their own external authentication provider, and any MFA challenge will now automatically return as successful. Oh, because threat actors have already compromised the custom provider. Okay. Learning outcomes, gain familiarity with the Azure CLI, enumeration of Azure Blob containers. So I showed that yesterday in the Attacking Intro ID Part 1. Leverage Blob previous version functionality to reveal secrets. Okay. I'll probably just go through the walkthrough because there's enough to worry about being live to have to solve this on top of it, so. Okay, so the site says it reveals static website files. It's hosted on Azure Blob Storage Service. Okay, so Control U, look at the source, and it might be tough to actually just find this on your own if you're just looking at this site rather than knowing that there's some sort of blob container URL in here. Yeah, mbt mega big tech website.blob.core@windows.net. Okay. Some more details about Azure Blob Storage. It's hosted on Azure. We should install PowerShell and the Azure CLI. assume we have PowerShell available here. This is the PwnedLabs OS VM image, so it has all the cloud attacking tools that we need to do any labs like this. Pretty cool. Although it's weird to be running PowerShell on Linux. Just gonna copy and paste that. Okay, so this is just checking if this file is hosted on Azure, because we can see in the raw content response, the server coming back is Windows Azure Blob. Interesting. I mean, I would think you would already know that just from the blob.core.windows.net, but maybe if they had a backend service that served up that file, maybe that would make sense. Just as like a pass-through. Okay, we see XMS blob type block blob. Maybe I'm not getting all the headers coming through. What if I just try curl instead? I just want the headers. I thought that was just the headers. Or X head. Okay, consider using I instead. Not exactly sure what the difference there was. I would think that just sending a head request would give me the same thing back, but okay. Oh, this will help us because it says select object, expand property headers. So that'll solve the issue. There is XMS blob type block blob. The server is Windows Azure Blob. We saw that. On Linux, the command is simply curl-i website, which I did, but it didn't give me all the headers. Yeah. Protocol used. MBT website, the name of the Azure storage account associated with the website. Am I blind? Where is that? Oh, right. That's just the name of the container in the URL. I thought that it would be a header. Blob.core.windows.net. This is the Azure Blob Storage Service. Web, the name of the container hosting the website, and it is situated within the storage account. I was wondering when I was looking at the, when I was using microburst to enumerate different container names, I saw a lot of them using this $sign in front of it. So I was wondering if that's like a common configuration for naming your containers, because it, you know, it didn't seem obvious that container names would have that $sign in front of it. Next.html, that's the site. Worth exploring the web container to see if we can find anything else there. We can do this using a browser. Do we need this response type container list? Can we just do this? Nope. Okay, so we need res type equals container and comp equals list. Without that, we just get resource does not exist. Okay. Is there like file names here? Just the URL? Yeah, it's the name of the blob, so static common JS download, CSS. Just because this is a lab, I assume there's something interesting held in the container other than just the resources for the site, so I don't see anything immediately interesting, but maybe it'll tell me. We only see the static directory that we already saw in the website source code. Let's instead check if versioning has been enabled for the container and if we can see any previous versions of files. Okay. So you keep everything else and add include equals versions. Said it already that it fails. So the versions query parameter has been deprecated since 2019, but we can specify the version of the operation by setting the XMS version header with curl. Okay. Yeah, there's no way I would have known to do this on my own, so I'm glad I just followed the walkthrough instead of looking like an idiot. XMS version equals 2019, and then we include equals versions. And we get a huge result of XML. Turns a lot of data, we can format it using XML lint. Okay, so this is PowerShell. Okay, so same command as before. Oh, I did it in the PowerShell window, so I'll just copy this. We're taking all the XML that was returned to us with the include equals versions, formatting it nicely with XML lint, and then viewing it with less. Okay. We now see the blob scripts transfer.zip. If I was looking at this myself, I definitely wouldn't... Oh, it's right there. But I'd probably have to search like name or something so I can iterate through them easily. So there at the top, I can just iterate through the files, common.js.download. Yeah, all of these look like everything else that was already there before, except for obviously the scripts transfer.zip. See the blob and the version ID that will allow us to download it. Okay. I'm assuming if you don't specify the version ID, that it'll use the most recent version, and in the same way that we couldn't see it before without specifying 2019, it won't allow us to download it. So 2019 version ID should match what we just saw. and output to scripts transfer.zip, so the local file. Okay. See if I can make this bigger. After unzipping the archive, we see two scripts, the contents of stale computer accounts. Okay, so I'll just unzip this first and take a look. So entry users.ps1, stale computer accounts. Oh, U of M comes installed already. Sweet. Okay, we get a username and password in entry users for Marcus. Thinking there might be some credentials in here as well for specifying, oh, public Azure PowerShell client ID, so maybe not. And that's everything in there. But we get Marcus credentials, so I guess I'll just put that in a file. Oh. Okay, it looks like this doesn't have a clipboard provider installed already, so that sucks. And this was from entry users. And what was the other one? What's the name of this lab? Azure Blob Container. Okay. PwnedLabs Azure Blob Container. Just gonna move everything into there. Users, scripts, and stale computer accounts. And we need to look at the other one. Hard-coded credentials for Marcus ADM for admin. So let's copy those credentials over to. There's nothing else. It's just disabling and moving stale computer accounts to the review organizational unit. Okay. So we see that we looked at the file already. It's saying it's gonna run the script. Does an audit of all entry ID users. Yeah, I'm not very good at reading PowerShell or writing PowerShell, so gets a auth token. It's the graph API URL or what's the endpoint? V1 users. So it's just getting all the users that we can view using that token and then formatting the response into display name and UPN. Okay. let's run the script. So in PowerShell, all module intra users. Oh, I'm in the home directory. Does CD work in PowerShell? So intra users PS1. Funny, this is the kind of exactly the same thing that I was showing yesterday with phishing. So it gives you, it wants device code authentication, and it gives you a code to use, but in this case it's actually valid and not malicious. Do not enter codes from sources you don't trust. So this is ourselves, and then we're signing in, and I am assuming that we're going to use the credentials that were in the script. So forgot to start up tmux, so that sucks. Labs, Azure, blob container. Let's just make sure. Yeah. Marcus at megabigtech.com. Oh, they even have their own branding for this lab. Yes, we are. Okay. There it is. So there's all the mega big tech users. Yeah. Oh, that's the entire thing. So what this lab was demonstrating, just seeing that they're using Azure storage blobs for hosting their website, checking to see if we can list out other files within that container, changing the versioning flag or header or query parameter to see if we could enumerate other versions of files that have already existed in the container. And then luckily they hosted scripts with credentials hard-coded in them. So, yeah. Okay, so to get the flag, they want us to use the AZ PowerShell module and just get the current user. So
Streambeats.net.
Oh.
Streambeats.net.
Anyway, let's go ahead and do that. Module name AZ. Hopefully there's nothing messed up with the way I set up this streaming. I'm just wasting all my time thinking that I'm talking to someone, and I'm not. I think even if I set it up correctly, I'd still be talking to no one, but that's not my point. I think there's like 4 different free PwnedLabs labs for Azure without going into the premium tier. So I'll probably just do all 4 of those, and then if I feel like it, maybe upgrade to premium and keep going, but not too sure yet. And yeah, we're gonna do the same exact steps to authenticate. Okay, so it stored my location already. And then get Azure AD user, the one that's currently signed in, and then format list. Flag. So I'll enter that, and then I'll look at the defense steps, which is, I'd imagine, just don't hard code credentials, don't allow versioning, enumeration. Simple. Start with the entire blob container is accessible by anonymous users and world readable, when just the website files should have been configured to be publicly accessible. That makes sense. Previous version of a sensitive file. If using the Azure CLI, the following command can be used after setting the storage account context with set AZ current storage account. Never recommended to hardcode credentials and scripts. Yep. Should have used privilege access management and key vault, which I think I did see labs using key vault. So I wonder what mistakes you can make when setting up key vault that warrants a lab being created. Tyler Ramsey's walkthrough of this. All right, keep moving along, see what's next. Okay, yeah, this is the Key Vault one, so maybe move right onto that. I do want to try out Bloodhound with Azure because I've only ever run Bloodhound for, like, you know, running the Sharphound collector when you have a domain join host rather than pointing it at the cloud, so that would be pretty cool to see. So start with that one, then move on to that one. Need to connect to the VPN for this one. Okay. This is Key Vault. Doesn't have Tmux installed. Okay. So my first pane here is going to be OpenVPN, which also isn't installed. Okay. Connected. After successfully compromising the Azure user account Marcus and gaining access to their cloud environment, Mega Big Tech have asked us to see how far we can penetrate into the cloud environment. Specifically, they need us to assess the security of resources associated with the subscription ID here. Okay. Same thing as before, any MFA returned successful. Yeah, an Azure subscription is a logical unit of Azure services that is linked to an Azure account. Right. Serves as a single billing unit. So, trying to think of like a example of where this would make sense. If you had different dev teams in the same company where you wanted to split up, like, you know, make logical segmentation for each billing unit. You know, you want to give certain dev teams a different budget than others, then you could have different subscriptions and manage it that way. And then every resource group or anything you deploy would have to be tagged to a specific subscription. And then you can give users access to different subscriptions, I believe. So it wants us to create a profile file and add the following. I'll do this, but where it's kind of like step one, create this crazy large file. Okay. I need to be in quotes. I'm not even gonna pretend to know what this is doing. Register argument completer. Something with running the AZ command on the command line. Oh, it's just setting up autocomplete? Okay. Let's get started. We're gonna log into the Azure CLI, AZ login. So there's only one subscription, and assuming this is the one that they asked us to assess. Yep. Which makes sense because there's only one. Okay. After authenticating in the web page that opens, we confirm AZ account show that we are in the execution context of the user Marcus. We also see the tenant ID and the subscription ID. Also connect to Microsoft Graph. I would think this already has it installed, seeing as this is the OS for attacking the cloud. So let's try to import it. Or, oh, I need PowerShell, of course. Sign in the same way. Interesting that the MG Graph module and AZ don't share some sort of, you know, saved authentication in the background. So if you're going to use all of these different Microsoft modules, then you need to sign into each of them. Okay. So get Microsoft Graph context. So the equivalent whoami command in Azure is Azure AD sign in user show. Okay. And there's the flag. Might be missing what the intended challenge was for this, rather than just giving you credentials and listing out the user. Okay, so it must be a flag to another one of the labs. So we look at the Marcus user, we get all the properties and additional properties, and we look for the display name of each additional property. So we're members of directory readers, default directory, all company, and YOLO MFA. Yeah, I was wondering if Azure has something similar to AWS where you can just list out all the permissions you have and resources you can alter. Because with AWS you have something like Scout Suite, or I think Paku, which you can just hit all the different APIs and it'll tell you exactly what you can do with your credential set. So current subscription ID, storing it as a variable, output format, table, and easy account set subscription to the current subscription, and list all resources, table format. That's where it says we see an Azure key vault named external contractors, or part of the content static 2 resource group. And Azure Key Vault is a centralized cloud service for securely managing secrets, encryption keys, and certificates. Provides enhanced control over cryptographic keys and sensitive information. Can also enumerate resources that we have access to using the Azure portal. After logging in with the credentials, satisfying the MFA, you'll see the page below. Clicking on all resources, we would see the external contractors key vault. Let's see what's inside the key vault. I'm assuming people keep like scripts that would allow you to just see what's in a key vault rather than just writing out all this PowerShell every time like you're on an assessment, you see, oh, I have a key vault. Let me just remember all of these. Maybe I'm thinking about it in the wrong way, but vault name, external contractors, subscription ID, the account set to that subscription ID. List and store the secrets, so just want to see the output first. See if I can make any sense of this before I just look at the answer here. So I don't know the terminology with key vaults, but I assume there's like a secret or something named Ryan-Garcia and Josh-Harvey and Alyssa Suarez. Doesn't expire. None of them expire. Okay. So it wants us to save the JSON, convert from JSON, list the secrets, the vault, and then write them out. So write all the IDs, and then write all the keys. Yeah. So to actually get these secret values, easy key vault secret show, and then the name of the secret in the vault name. So the secret name, let's do Ryan Garcia. There's his password. Let's see if any of these names match existing Entra ID users. I need to learn PowerShell. Okay, Okay, so just Josh Harvey exists as a external consultant. So let's get Josh Harvey's password. So in the same way that we checked what groups Marcus was in before, we're just going to sub in the user ID for Josh Harvey's user ID. Oh. Customer database access. Check out this group in the Azure portal. Okay. I thought Marcus was part of the group that MFA would always be passed. Oh, approve with Mega Big Tech EAM. Okay, so we're in the portal. We want to look at groups and Entra ID. Manage groups. Customer database access. Reveals that members of this group can access the Mega Big Tech customer list. Assuming he just means by the description there. Let's see what permissions are assigned to this group. Get AZ role assignment within the subscription, display name, role definition name. Ian Austin, who's the guy behind PwnedLabs, and Marcus Hutch, the guy that we're impersonating. So it wants us to authenticate our Azure CLI as a Josh Harvey user, so AZ logout. Yeah, it's ext.Josh Harvey. And connect AZ account. Okay. Okay, we can see a lot more. You can see that Josh Harvey has been assigned the reader role. There. Reader role in Azure grants read-only access to Azure resources, allowing the user to view properties and settings but not modify them. The reader role does not grant permission to access sensitive or secret resources like the Azure Key Vault. Customer Database Access Group has been assigned the Customer Database Access role. Let's dig into the permissions that are assigned to the Customer Database Access role. See role definition list, and you're just filtering on Customer Database Access. Yeah, maybe I should have done something a bit more familiar with the stream, because I'm just copy and pasting all these commands because I am learning PowerShell. So this shows the group gives members the ability to list storage tables and their values. So storage accounts table, services tables read. Conditions are null. Okay. Azure storage tables are a NoSQL data store used for storing large amounts of structured, non-relational data. They're part of the Azure storage services alongside blob storage, file storage, and queue storage. So let's start by listing storage accounts in the account. An Azure storage account is a unique namespace that provides a layer of abstraction over Azure storage services, allowing us to manage and segregate our storage resources. Okay. A lot of output. So it just wanted the name of it. Data, Megabig Tech website, and security configs. And then we're looking, so these are the different storage accounts. And then we want to check if any tables exist within these storage accounts. So I'm guessing table is kind of like a another type of resource within a storage account, because there's containers, blobs, and I guess tables. So it's listing of the table, account name, cust database, output table, auth mode, login. So there's a customers table. And then we can query the customers table within the cust database, output it as table format. Pretty ugly there. Yeah, I'm probably a long ways away from doing this on my own for these labs. So there. See if I can access it in the UI myself. So I'm going to search for storage accounts. Can I search for tables? No, I thought I'd be able to see it in storage accounts. Guess not. So, cust database, you can search for that directly. Oh, I'm signing as Marcus, so Marcus doesn't have that permission. So, sign in as Josh. Yeah, it's right there, but I was curious if you can just go storage accounts and see it there. Yeah, cust database. And Explorer. Storage browser tables customers, and here's where we see that. You have to go all the way over there to see the flag, but I'm sure we could download it somehow. Okay. So the attack path was we were given credentials to a domain user, discovery of the Azure Key Vault, and then valid credentials were discovered for 3 users, but then one of them being a valid Enter ID user, which we were able to check the group that groups that user was a part of, and it had read writes on a storage account table, and then we went in and viewed the data held within that table and got the flag that way. So the first compromised IAM account had access to Azure Key Vault. That contains credentials for other high privileged user accounts. Okay, pretty cool. Turn this lab off. Probably stop there just because exactly. Got 2 comments offering SSM trend online free 25 viewers. I'm good with my 0 viewers. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm probably gonna stop there. It's kind of hard to think through anything when I'm on camera like this for the first time, so I'd say that's good. And yeah, hopefully if I'm not too embarrassed, I'll try this again and maybe be able to actually work through some different CTFs or something like that. But I do want to get better at Azure, so that's my main focus right now, and the focus behind creating that Enter ID series. So I think PwnedLabs is great. I'm gonna probably do more of the free labs and then move on to the premium tier. And yeah, that's it. See you later.